Alright, we are ready to begin. So this is Gungrave. This is the original PS2 version. A little bit of history about this game. Way back on my original channel, I did a Let's Play segmented into 5 parts, and that actually was just something I did on a whim after picking up the original game for $6 at Second and Charles, and it actually grew to be one of the most popular video series I did on my channel, until eventually abandoning that channel and starting the new one titled StarCrossed Souls. So I want to get into this game as a speed game, so in order to do that, I figured I might as well stake my claim on Twitch and YouTube by just doing another casual run to play the game in its entirety, show off the story, and then go back through and do some PB attempts in order to get on the speedrunning leaderboards. I also plan to go through the game's sequel, Overdose, as all 3 characters, and then eventually, maybe if somebody I know has some VR equipment, because I certainly don't, I can go through the VR version of the game that just came out this last year, so I'm really excited about that. So let's go ahead and begin. So this game is the creation of Yasuhiro Naitao, who was the original writer and artist for Trigun, a manga and anime you're probably familiar with. And so there was originally going to be a game titled Trigun: The Planet Gunsmoke, a third-person shooter developed by Red Entertainment, and they scrapped the project, but they did ask Yasuhiro Naitao to lend his character designing for their other third-person shooter project that they decided to make instead, and that ended up being Gungrave. So we have a absolutely beautiful futuristic city with gentle snowfall, a stark contrast to the intense violence we're going to encounter as soon as the game gets started. So this game got lukewarm at best praise when it launched here in the US, although it has a really interesting development history, a lot of which is chronicled in the Gungrave Archives, a book that was actually localized in English by Dark Horse Comics, if anybody's interested in reading it. And then the anime was made in 2003. And then in 2004 we got the sequel, Overdose. The anime's continuity and the game's continuity are very different, and I will probably mention throughout how they differ. But we play as the character named Brandon Heat, who was essentially a thug as a kid, and he and his friend Harry McDowell got into a lot of trouble, but eventually got themselves involved in a crime syndicate known as, well, the Millennium Organization. But somewhere along the way, Harry betrayed him, and he died. But through a series of technology and a lot of money, they were able to bring him back. The loyalists of the organization were able to set Grave aside as a backup weapon, essentially, for when Harry would eventually overthrow the boss of the organization, which did happen. So, here we are. And yes, this game is not English dubbed. It was released in Japanese with subtitles in 2002. Pretty remarkable, actually. Yeah, this game had a hard release because, ironically enough, for when I'm streaming this game actually competed with the original Kingdom Hearts on its original release, so a lot of people passed this game up in favor of Kingdom Hearts, understandably so. This is not a bad game, but Kingdom Hearts is certainly a lot longer. Now, this actually brings up a continuity issue I'm curious about, because they're saying cheers to the new boss, Harry McDowell, when if this goes by the continuity that we establish at all, he would have been the boss for quite some time by the time Grave came back, and by the time Miko was a teenager. Alright, it's time to kick some ass. So, one of the things I'm going to be doing in this run compared to my old channel is I've discovered some new movement tech, where essentially you have to grip the controller with this weird claw grip, to where you can hold down the circle button to walk forward and lock onto an enemy at the same time. Otherwise, you can't lock onto an enemy and shoot at full speed, something that they corrected quite quickly in when designing Overdose. So unfortunately the controls are going to be a little awkward because of that. I'm going to have to like I said, claw grip the controller so I can actually hold down the circle button and run at the same time, but that's actually going to increase my speed quite a bit. Now this game has a sort of on-the-rails style arcade shooter vibe to it, so in order to progress to the next screen, a lot of times all you have to do is defeat a particular enemy that's blocking your path. So you'll see me do that quite often, where I will prioritize the big enemies like these guys, and then just walk through to the end of the screen. This first stage can be heavily optimized, and you can clear it quite quickly. Of course, I haven't mastered a lot of the speed tech. Apparently there's a trick going up these stairs where you can do like a super jump and it saves a lot of time, but I haven't quite been able to test that yet. And this is just a casual run to show off the story and everything in full detail. So there's two big enemies that spawn up here. I need to kill, they're like one in each corner, so I need to kill them. Now if I hold down, if I stop moving and I mash the circle button while in place, I'll go into what they call burst mode. And that actually deals a lot more damage, and it automatically locks onto enemies around me, so that's going to be a good way to clear out rooms. Okay, so that was all the big enemies up there. When we increase our beat, as they call it, by accruing combos, similar to, I guess, the style points in Devil May Cry, that will increase our blue gauge that's over there by on the opposite side of the screen from our health, and that is going to give us what they call a demolition shot. The demolition shot is going to be our super attack. And there's a couple different types of demolition shots as well. This screen gets really laggy, but there's a particular enemy we have to kill here, our target, and I'm basically going to be chasing him over into this corner where he's going to go anyway and just use the demolition shot to take him out. There we go, and that is stage 1 complete, not bad. Hello June, hopefully you can hear me, hopefully the commentary is not messed up. Okay, so between stages we can talk to Mika and Dr. Tokioka to get some extra dialogue, so I'll do that in this screen, and then I'll probably pass it up on the next subsequent screens. Okay, awesome, he can hear me. Yeah, so I am... Man, I swear, we had this conversation before where it's like, how have we gone our whole lives without knowing each other when we have so many common interests? Yeah, I absolutely love this series, and me and Michelle actually just got recently finished watching the anime. We started it like early last year, and then I finally got her to sit down and finish it with me towards the end of the year, so it's fresh in my mind. I had seen it a long time ago before then, but it's fresh in my mind now, and so I'll be able to call out some of the differences between the game and the anime and some of the... So I kind of prefer both over the other one in certain instances. Like, there's certain plot elements that they do better. It's a pretty cool animation there when you see the coffin open and the guns come out. So this screen is actually one that's going to be pretty optimal to use that that walking mechanic like I talked about, where you hold down circle to go faster, and you can kind of just plow through these enemies. Now, you got to be careful though, because the next screen where we go into that little garage over there, we need to clear out a certain amount of enemies in order to progress through there, so I don't want to leave too many enemies behind. You also notice we have the Max Payne style shoot dodge mechanic, which throws out quite a few bullets in one burst, so not only is it good for avoiding enemy fire and getting good movement, but it's also really good for... whoops! Almost got hit by a rocket there. Unlike an overdose, you cannot deflect rockets. That is one of the nice new mechanics they added in Overdose, was the ability to use your melee attack and actually deflect rockets back at your enemies. Those enemies that hide out on the other side of the wall there are really annoying. You can't really get a good lock on them from this side of the screen. Alright, I think that's everything. We should get the icon, the crazy taxi arrow, to progress whenever we've cleared out the right amount of enemies. There we go. Not the fastest time I've had going through that part of the stage, but can't complain too much. Yeah, this screen can get laggy as well. We have some bigger enemies here with some... Looks like a guy was swinging a girder at me or something crazy like that. The enemy designs are also unique and interesting, even though you don't really get a chance to look at them in too much detail. The enemies in this this stage kind of give me a very Mad Max Fist of the North Star kind of vibe with their design. They've all got like these masks and everything on. So the way that your health system works in this game is you have sort of almost like the Halo like shield bar and then main health, where your main health will not regenerate, your shield will. But there is a demolition shot we get later on where we can consume one of our demolition shots to restore our health, and we may do that at some point in the game. But in the interest of actually having a good fight against some of the bosses and getting a good time, I may take a death on certain bosses so I can get a health restore. That's going to affect our score in the end, but if I'm just wanting to go fast, then it's not a bad strategy. Sometimes if I'm low on health going into a boss, just go ahead and take a death. At least this game is pretty forgiving. For such an arcade-style game, it's pretty forgiving when it comes to checkpoints. Melee is pretty decent at this point in the game, but we won't be using it for too long afterwards. There's a skip we can do here that, again, I haven't quite mastered it, where you can jump off these boxes over here and get up to the top of the railing we need to go to more easily. I think I'm going to go ahead and try it. Let's see if I can pull this off. Hey! First try. That wasn't too bad. Couldn't even see that rocket and I managed to avoid it. Yeah, so I managed to get a little skip in there, which was okay. So we were in a factory, and now we're in some kind of science lab, which makes me wonder if this was supposed to be the lab where Orgmen are being developed for the organization. We'll see some Orgmen very soon, and they're quite terrifying, and they can deal a lot of damage to us. What I really need, again, is somebody who has a PlayStation VR they can lend me so I can play the newest version. And what sucks about that is I was just, you know, casually on a whim doing some research to find out, get out of my way, to find out if the VR version could be played without the VR version, like if there was a classic mode or something like that. There isn't. But you know what else I found out when looking at the VR version of the game? It has a story that's a continuation of the series. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. That's kind of disappointing. So I'm not forking out the cash for a PlayStation VR though, but man, would I love to play that. And I definitely want to know the story if it's a continuation. Apparently Mika's like a proper adult now, and you're fighting like another organization. I think they had ties to Garino from Overdose or something like that. But I guess that's definitely setting up the stage for the story of Gungrave Gore, the proper third game in the series. So I probably could have done that switch a little bit faster there by shooting it from afar, but I ended up just getting right close to it and meleeing it, which worked out okay. I doubt this is going to be my fastest run, but we'll see. Alright, so now we have another target mini-boss enemy, which I don't think I did that much damage to him with that rocket. The rocket has a bit of splash damage, but not much. And he's probably got a lot of health, so... But a lot of the computers he was hiding behind have been destroyed, so... And with just a couple of shoot dodges, we should be able to get him. There we go. Yeah, he's definitely got the whole Fist of the North Star look going on. Looks like we're being followed by some Orgmen on the way into this stage.